Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah and I'm the style coach. Today's video is fresh in my mind from an online colour consultation that I just did. And it comes from a request from a client who I just worked with, and she's going through a journey of chemotherapy, and she was looking for information on wearing her best colours throughout this journey. And my client used to wear a lot of black, but as she entered treatment, she said, no, that is not how I want to go through this process. I want the vibrancy of colour and the joy of colour to come back into my life. And I think we definitely achieved that. If this is a subject that is of interest to you, colour analysis, I will leave some links down below. You can find out more information, some frequently asked questions before we get into the subject of today. She said, would I consider doing a video on this subject, and, whether it's still something that's possible to do a colour analysis during this treatment because it has different effects on hair, on skin. I decided that I would because as she said, she can't be the only one looking for this information. She asked me, was it possible, because there was changes in the skin in particular. So my knowledge of this treatment is very limited. First of all, I am no expert in this. So my experience is going off what I've heard from my client who is going through chemotherapy. And she said that her skin had become quite yellow throughout the treatment. And would this interfere with having a colour analysis? Also, there's hair loss that happens throughout this treatment as well. Now, of course, there's two things already that we look at when doing a colour analysis. We look at skin tone, skin undertone, hair, and eyes, and this leads us on a journey to find best colours for you. The first thing I want to address is the skin. So the changes that my client was seeing in her skin was there was a change in the tone of the skin. It was appearing more yellow as she went through this treatment. And the good thing about colour analysis, particularly when we're addressing cool versus warm, is that we're connecting in with the undertone of the skin. So what's happening on the surface of the skin is very different to what's going on beneath the surface of the skin. The skin tone will change throughout life. That's what we see change when we get a tan, or if we burn. We might get age spots, we get freckles. Perhaps going through treatment like chemotherapy, yellow tones appear in the skin. So that is the skin tone changing. And this is something that we can see with the untrained eye. We all can identify what's going on in the surface of our skin. What a colour analysis does, or what I do, is I look beyond what's going on the surface of the skin. And this can be trickier to see to an untrained eye. And this is where using, whether it's digitally draping somebody or using physical drapes, this can highlight the undertone of the skin. So I went through the same process that I would with anybody and identified this lady's undertone. So it was looking beyond the surface tone, the yellowness of the surface of the skin, and looking beyond that to the undertone. And we could see quite clearly, as she could on the screen as well, that the undertone allowed her skin to relax and feel brighter, and that yellowness actually receded. It wasn't as obvious. Whereas the warmer tones that we put on her seemed to attach or highlight the yellow tones in her skin, which were not everywhere, and made the skin look a little bit uneven. So This test of looking at the cool versus warm with the undertone looks beyond what's going on the surface of the skin. So if you are somebody going through treatment and you feel like the actual tone of the skin has changed and you see yellowness or perhaps something else, the good thing is your undertone does not change throughout life. If you're cool, you'll always be cool. If you're warm, you'll always be warm. So that is something that is reliable in this test. We can look at the skin tone in relation to the contrast between, let's say, the hair and the skin, or the eyes and the skin. That leads me on to the next part. Let's say your treatment means that you lose your hair, which is often the case. Now we don't have that part of the analysis to rely on, that level of contrast. I can't even see if there's warm tones in the hair, if there's cool tones, any of that. I can't see the depth of the hair. I can't see any of it. We don't even have the eyelashes at times or the eyebrows. So what happens in this case? This is something that, let's say somebody has also, in the case of somebody who dyes their hair, I will actually ask them to cover up their hair and take that out of the equation completely when we're doing this analysis. So I would actually focus in on other parts of your features in order for us to arrive at a certain point in your analysis. This is where I really tune into the eyes. So my client provided me with a few different photos, which was very helpful, particularly as she felt that she was quite different now than she used to be. So she sent me a photo from childhood, a photo pre-chemo, and a current photo as well. I worked with the current photo because I thought that was, obviously the most up to date and gave me real-time information pretty much. So that's what I worked with. My client, although she clearly had experienced hair loss, her eyes were beautifully bright. And as I tested the intensity of colours on her, I could see that the brighter colours were just wonderful on her. Although I couldn't see the contrast in her hair, her eyes had brightness which had not been lost. And therefore the brighter colours were just fantastic on her. So the analysis took me on a journey and led me to her colour palette, which I then presented to her only about an hour ago, or not even. And she was really happy with the results of it. And she looked so vibrant in her colours and wonderful. And I know that she's going to be using this as a tool for her own well-being and to feel good. As she said, at this point of going through this treatment, this might be the very time when you want to feel your best, or you need that lift. And I think we achieved that together with her being open with me, sharing her journey, and then analysing her colours and arriving at a colour palette. So if you know somebody, or if it's you yourself, and you feel like, gosh, I wish I could get my colours done, but I feel like I can't because my skin tone has changed, my hair may not be there, do bear in mind that it is still very possible, and you can still enjoy colour and the joy of colour, and still plan your wardrobe around your colour palette and have all the benefits of a colour consultation just like anybody else. Client, I know you're going to be watching this video. I hope I've done it justice. Thank you very much to my client for sharing her experience with me, and thank you for everybody for watching also. I hope you learned something new. I certainly did, and I'll see you next week for another video. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye bye.